among the players that you're probably looking at here, so Bears and Bucks on a bye this week.
Yep.
You might be looking for some wide receivers, some quarterbacks. Why don't we start at the quarterback position field? Who are you looking for if you're trying to roster? If somebody's banged up or maybe you're in a 2-quarterback league, looking ahead.
So my number one quarterback out of the week would be Jameis Winston, who's available in over 90% of leagues. And obviously we know that when that Bucs passing offense is going, it has so many weapons and so much talent. Offensive line protects the quarterback well. I'm not sure they do much in the running game, but a good offensive infrastructure for Jameis Winston. And we think because of their defense, they're going to have to throw the football a ton going forward. But that doesn't do you much good because the Bucs are on a bye this week. So one of the quarterbacks of note, and trust me, it gets thin quickly at quarterback. There's one of note.
Just worth noting here, but when they come back from a bye, because I think this is important, at Atlanta, home to Cleveland, at Cincinnati, at Carolina, home to Washington, at the Giants, home to San Francisco, not a schedule that scares you at all. I mean, very fantasy friendly. I think they're, at Cincinnati, maybe not the best, or at Carolina, but still, that's a really nice schedule. I think.
And remember, he was playing really well when he came back from injury in the second half. He set all kinds of career highs in completion percentage, off target throws, interception rate, all of that. Was a top 10 fantasy quarterback on a per game basis. So he was, we talk all about Fitz early this season, how well he was doing. Winston was killing it down the stretch with similar weapons last season. So there's a lot of potential value. You could have a starter going forward if you pick up Winston.
Specific to this week, Derek Carr does make the column, and maybe for a little bit longer than that. Important to note, this is a player that was near the NFL MVP 2 seasons ago, and he's on pace for 5,500 passing yards. Some of what applies to Jameis Winston applies to Derek Carr. Bad defense is going to lead to a lot of throwing, and the weapons are not nearly as good in Oakland as they are in Tampa Bay, but they have an effective running game, which keeps the defense honest. And Jared Cook has been really good at tight end. Let's just call it what it is. And although it's been up and down, when it's rolling, Amari Cooper, Jordy Nelson, there's some productivity there from the 2 wide receivers. Carr's available at 80% of leagues.
Yeah, I'll say this about Carr. This was his first top 20. This game against Cleveland, his first top 20 of the season.
Touchdowns have eluded him.
Yes, first top, but it's also his first top 15 since week 7 of last season, which is just incredible. He's got almost a full season without a top 15 fantasy week. They only had 5 total touchdowns their first 3 games before as an offense until getting 4 in that shootout against Cleveland. So I'm staying away here. I mean, I know you're not saying he's like a lock-in starter going forward by any means, but I'm not buying this one. I think you have significantly better options, a quarter, maybe 20 better going forward.
Well, I'm not. This is again not for going forward. This is specific to need to fill in for this week,
Sure.
and these are the guys that are available. One other for this week, just to mention, because we'll talk about him a lot this week, is Blake Bortles. He's going to be added by a lot of people going against that Kansas City defense.
I like that one.
We know that Blake Bortles has his up and down moments. I've used that term quite a bit today, up and down, because the reality, players that are available on the waiver wire, is that if they were sure things, they would have been long gone. But Blake Bortles will also be mentioned.
One thing I will just mention very quickly. I side more with Mike here in terms of Carr. I'm a little bit less optimistic about him. I prefer Bortles if you're looking for somebody this week. But worth noting, Andy Dalton's rostered in about 50% of leagues. Right. So if Andy Dalton is somehow still out there in your league, Andy Dalton would be my choice. And Alex Smith. Some people may have dropped Alex Smith as well. Going on the road to play New Orleans in week 5, that game should be fairly high scoring as well. I do think Alex Smith is somebody that you could look at this week. He's also about 50% of leagues, maybe rostered 45%, something like that.